This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 on this Tuesday morning, ready to rock and roll. New UND women's basketball coach Dennis Hutter will join us in about a half hour. Chat about him taking over up in Grand Forks. Looking forward to that conversation. Our big story today, obviously, is the news that Minnesota State University Morehead is in the job market for a new men's basketball head coach. Tim Bergstrasser officially accepted the job at Denver. He'll be introduced tomorrow at a press conference at 11:30, meaning the Dragons have an opening, and our next guest is in charge of trying to replace that opening. It's great to have Chad Markuson back with us, MSUM athletic director, who joins us on the show. All right, so give us peel back the curtain how this conversation plays out. Like, do you read about it? Does Tim come to you? How did it all play out?
So that's the great part. First of all, thanks for having me on here, Dom. But that's the great thing about working with Coach Bergstrasser. He's a first-class act all the way around. So when the conversation was starting with Denver, he let me know right away, and that he was interested in the position. It was sort of a unique situation where Josh Burlow is the athletic director there, and someone who worked in our league, as you know. Tim was up front right away and had the conversation. I did everything I could do to encourage him to stay and build a dynasty. I kept saying, hey, you can build a heck of a Division II dynasty here and everything else. But throughout the process, as he kept exploring that and as Denver spent more time with him, it became obvious that he was going to be their choice.
So when that becomes apparent to you, what's the mind start? Like, okay, we're going to have an opening. Like, what's the checklist work for you, Len?
You know, for me, the first checklist was I had to stop and remind myself, this is an amazing job. It's one of the premier Division II jobs. So I'm like, that's the exciting part is I have the opportunity to go out and really be picky and be able to get the right next coach for us going forward. And who's going to help continue to build on what we've been building on in the last 13 years since Chad took over the program.
When you look at we talk all the time, Chad, about on the Division I level, seeing guys move up. I'm not sure people are really aware of how frequent it happens at the Division II level, but certainly in your league, we've seen it over the years of the amount of really talented NSIC players that have come up. Unfortunately, that likely is going to be the case with your team. How difficult is that to adjust to, knowing half your team is probably going to be gone next season?
That is very difficult. Actually, it's funny. I just walked through our weight room and some of our guys were in there getting a lift in, and just realizing that they're not going to be wearing Dragon Red next year is it really hit home today.
What? Yeah. How do you account for that? Like, it's at the Division II level. I mean, I can't say hopeless, but what do you do there?
You know, to me, I treat it as a compliment. It's like we've been able to invest and develop these young men and women, and when they get an opportunity to go up to the next level, that's part of what we're here for. We're part of the transforming the people's lives, and that takes a lot of different veins and roads that you can go down, and it's the same for our coaches and staff. So it is what it is, and it's our new era that we live in. And some days I'm struggling with our new era where we could have a student athlete attend 4 different universities in 4 years. I'm not really sure that's the right model for a student athlete, especially if we want to talk about graduation and academic success. But it's what we live in right now.
What do people not know about the NSIC and MSUM specifically that makes this a really attractive job in your mind?
Oh, what do people not know? I think it's pretty obvious to me over the years when you see that we've always been one of those teams considered ranked in the region and ranked nationally. We've done it with some amazing student athletes over the years, and I would say if you look at you have the Jordan Reavers and the Justin Wicks and the Tim Bergstrassers, all these people who have touched our program and have gone off and are working as coaches in the league. There's a lot of evidence that you can point to saying, hey, you know what? If I go take that job at Morehead, I have an opportunity to be successful.
The fact that you've won as much, especially when Chad got there to see and put MSUM basketball on the map. Chad, how much does that make this a really appealing job to say, okay, you mentioned you come here, you can win, and now you can go to the Division I job potentially.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that is something that can appeal. And it's not just in basketball either. I mean, you look at, we lost our softball coach
Yep.
last summer. He came here too, and he went to a Division I program. So it shows what Dragon Athletics is really becoming, and we have growing as an athletic department since Doug Peters took this over, 15, 16 years ago. And we have really developed that department of a place that you can come and grow as a professional, and opportunities come knocking afterwards.
I want to go back when you officially became AD. Had Chad already resigned, or was that happened yet before you became officially his athletic director?
I was still the interim at that time.
So he resigns, you get the job, and then take me through the process of hiring Tim and how that came about.
That was an interesting time because Tim and I were running parallel lives almost at the same time there, so it was really unique. And him and I laughed about that a lot just afterwards as we went through that process. The fun part was doing that search for basketball, and I sat there when Tim was a GA. He had the office right next to me, so Tim and I got to know each other very well during that time, and then when he was there, assistant coach, just continued to spend that time. So it was a different time, a different process, and a very unique relationship that coach and I had.
To see where he came from, did you have the idea he was going to be a head coach, like in that GA days? Like, okay, this guy he might be something down the road.
Without a doubt. After his first year, I remember sitting down with Doug Peters at the time, and we were just talking about things. I'm like, this guy is pretty special. He just the way he carries himself, the way he communicates, the way he interacted with their student athletes, and you could tell as a GA that student athletes were attracted to him and wanted to learn from him. And I go back to the line that I always look for in a coach is I want them to have the heart of a teacher. He's a teacher, and it's more than just X's and O's. He's teaching these young men how to be young men, and so yeah, he's always been special that way, and I've known that since he was a GA.
We were joking off air. I asked you, is your phone blowing up? So give me what in your process here. I'm sure you have a timeline. What is that, and how does this look like for when the next Dragon men's basketball coach will be hired?
So I don't have a hard timeline. I want to find the next coach as quickly as possible, but I want to find the right coach. I've been playing phone tag with Mike McFeely. I'm really hoping he's interested.
Boy,
he's a true dragon.
That's going to go right to his head, man. Don't say that. Holy cow, man, oh man.
But yeah, we want to start the process and start visiting with the coaches and find who's the right next one and who's going to be the right fit. And I don't want to rush it, but I also don't want to drag our feet because it's very important that we get somebody in here, especially in this day and age, because we have a few guys in the portal, so we have some spots to fill.
For the guys that are coming back, Chad, have you had a chance to talk to them and say, okay, hey, don't worry, we got this? Like, what kind of conversation you've had with the remaining team members?
Yeah, I met with the team yesterday. Had a great conversation with them, just explain the process, explain the timeline, and how I want them involved in the process. So Eddie Benega is a great example. He went through this 3 years ago. So he's like, are we going to get the opportunity to meet the coaches and the finalists? And I'm like, absolutely. And I want their feedback. So they're part of that process. So we had a nice chat with them yesterday afternoon, and it was encouraging. Some of the guys who are in the portal still showed up to that meeting. So they wanted to visit with and learn about the program, because the one thing, a lot of them still want Dragon Athletics to be successful and want the program, even though that they might be moving on to their next school.
Chad, how tough of a line is it to walk where you want to be quick because you want to get a guy and make sure the roster stays intact, but you want to be measured and get the right guy? How tough of a balancing act is that for you?
Without a doubt, it's a tough balancing act. President Downs and I visited yesterday about that, and trying to make sure that I don't take any missteps along the way, and I don't want to miss out on anybody, but I also don't want to, because there's unlimited possibilities, and as many texts and emails I'm getting right now, there's probably about 400 people that are saying, "Oh, you should talk to this person. You should talk to that person. You should look at this person." So there's a lot of that, trying to find that balance and seeking guidance from the right people that I trust and value their thoughts and opinions as well.
Is there something you want to hear out of the next head coach that will really say, "Yep, that's the one I want to hire"? Is there something when you in this interview process like that's the right person for this job?
For me, a lot of it is gut. It's when I sit down and visit with that person. I also try to put myself in the student athlete's point. Would I want to play for this person? Now, I'm not that 18-year-old anymore. I'm just a little bit older than that. But try and put that in that mindset. And then is it somebody that I want to represent our athletic department? Do I want them out in the public? Do I want them being one of the leaders in our community? Those are some of the key aspects, and really maximizing on that student athlete experience. And I know a lot that term gets tossed around a lot. And what is that experience? Well, that experience is, are we academically pursuing degrees? That is important to me. I want our student athletes to walk across that stage at graduation time, but I also want us to compete at a very high level. So finding that unicorn like Tim was, is what I want to find.
The intriguing part to me on this, I'm sure for a candidate, he's going to say, okay, about facilities, where are we at there? What would you say on that, about where we're at with NEMSIC and what's the long-range goal on that?
So facilities-wise, NEMSIC, it's an older building, like McFeely talks about. It looks like when he was here. But on game days, we do dress it up, and we make it a pretty neat atmosphere. John Webking does an amazing job there.
Yep.
We are in conversations, and we have been talking for a while, and with President Downs on board now, we have different energy when it comes to what can we do with NEMSIC and how can we fix and change it more into an arena, and how can we improve some indoor space for our other student athletes for track and turf facilities. So those are discussions that we've been having for a while, and President Downs brings new energy to that conversation. So it's something I'm not going to tell the coach, yep, we're going to have this in 2 years, because I don't want to be a liar to him, but it's something that is a little bit more top of mind right now.
Does that jumpstart it, though, with a new hire like this, to maybe, hey, okay, we got to get our acting gear on getting this done, because now we're hiring a new coach that this is front and center? Does that kind of jumpstart things in your mind?
I'm not sure if it jumpstarts it, but it definitely helps and plays a role in that. We've been having some really good conversations, and we've worked with architect firm, and we have some ideas, and we have some renderings already. And I'm excited. We have a lot of new players at the cabinet level in the university, and a lot of them have that vision of, we need to grow, we need to invest in our infrastructure to help grow the overall enrollment of the university.
I know you're a busy man. I really appreciate you giving us a few minutes here today. Good luck on this, and we'll talk after you got your next coach hired, okay?
Well, I appreciate your time, and go Dragons.
Good to see you, bud. Chad Markuson, MSUM Athletic Director, joining us here this morning after the news that Tim Bergstrasser is heading for Denver, and now there is a men's basketball job open across the river with the Dragons. Be interested to see what happens. It's a really good job. I think Mike pointed that out. We've said it earlier off top of the show. You look at the top of the league, and we talked about it, I mean, how competitive it was with Concordia St. Paul, with Winona, with the Dragons, with Minot State in there. Throw in Mankato, throw in Duluth, who should have been in the tournament. Augie. Those are some dynamite programs that, most all of them have changed over coaches. Merkin's been there for a bit, and you have to think Matt might be entertaining. They won 26 games at Minot State this year. Concordia St. Paul had its best year. Never been to the tournament made this year. You win, stay for a couple of years, and you're on to the next. That's kind of the way it goes. And be really intrigued to see who the next person is to take it over for the Dragons. We're overdue for a break. We'll get caught up here. Got a couple emails coming in on the Twins debacle and get caught up on a couple other items as well. Back on this Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra right after this.